Hello students, let's go ahead with clause analysis. Now we have already seen three types of noun clauses, that is how to state the relation of three types, that is subject of the verb, object of the verb and complement of the verb. Let us go ahead with the next three types. Now listen to what he says. Here again we know that listen to is the main clause. What he says is the subordinate clause. If you ask the question listen to what, we know that it is what he says, so it is a noun clause. Now check. The main clause ends with the preposition to there. Okay. So it is subordinate noun clause, object of preposition to in the main clause. So simple students. If the main clause ends with a preposition, it is object of preposition. So how do you write the answer? Listen to main clause. What he says, subordinate noun clause, object of preposition to in the main clause. Next one. I like to hear what he says. Again, I like to hear is the main clause. What he says is the subordinate clause. We know it is subordinate noun clause. And now what do we see here? That the main clause ends with the infinitive to here, and therefore we say it is object of infinitive to here in the main clause. So how do you write the answer? I like to hear main clause. What he says, subordinate noun clause, object of the infinitive to here in the main clause. So students, when it ends with an infinitive, it is object of infinitive. When it ends with a preposition, it is object of preposition. When the main clause ends with a complete verb, it is object of the verb. But when it ends with an incomplete verb, it is complement of the verb. And now we go on to the last one. Take a look at the sentence. The rumor that he is dead is true. Now, that he is dead becomes your subordinate clause because it starts with that and ends before the second finite verb. So the rumor is true is your main clause, and that he is dead becomes the subordinate clause. Okay, now this is a noun clause. Yes, we know what is true, that he is dead is true. But students, sometimes this kind of a clause could also be an adjective clause, because you see there is the word rumor before the subordinate clause, and if you say which rumor is true, that he is dead. So sometimes it is confusing. Therefore, a very simple rule. If there is a noun or a pronoun just before a subordinate clause, okay, like how you have rumor here, a noun before the subordinate clause, then what do we do? And also that the subordinator is that. So two conditions. There is a noun or a pronoun before the subordinate clause and the subordinator is that. Then what do we do? Replace that with which. So if you replace that with which over here, if the sentence makes sense with which, it is an adjective clause. For example, the rumor which is dead is true. If it made sense, it would have been adjective. Does it make sense, students? Not at all. So, if the sentence does not make sense with which, it is noun clause in apposition to the noun in the main clause. So, here the sentence does not make sense with which, so it is subordinate noun clause in apposition to the noun in the main clause. So, how do you write the answer? The rumor is true, main clause. That he is dead, subordinate noun clause in apposition to the noun, that is rumor, in the main clause. Students, note, the word apposition means in addition, telling us some additional information. So a noun clause in apposition gives additional information about the noun in the main clause. So that he is dead is giving additional information about the noun rumor in the main clause. Students, there is one more type of a noun clause in apposition. What is that? Let's see here. It is certain that he will succeed. So it is certain is the main clause. That he will succeed is the subordinate clause. And here if we ask the question what is certain, of course we get the answer that he will succeed. So definitely it is a noun clause. Now what do we see here? That in this case, that he will succeed, this particular subordinate noun clause can actually become a substitute for the pronoun it over there in the main clause. So which means it is actually represented by that pronoun or by that particular clause, that he will succeed. That he will succeed tells us what the it means. So here, see here, you can replace the it with it. Instead of it, if you say that he will succeed is certain, it still makes sense. So students, such a clause will be called as apposition to the pronoun. So here the answer will be, it is certain, main clause, that he will succeed, subordinate noun clause in apposition to the pronoun it in the main clause. So students, that is all about the 6 types of noun clauses, and in the next module we shall do an exercise based on it.